Hello and welcome to Radio Juxtapoz, produced by the Unibrow. This episode of Radio Juxtapoz with Barcelona-born, currently Chicago-based painter Noelia Towers is brought to you by the generous support of the Artemisia Foundation, a world-class museum of contemporary graffiti and street art in Bisbee, Arizona. The Artemisia Foundation features over 1,000 works of art by 125 artists from 50 countries around the globe. You can explore their programming and collection over at artemisia.com. Radio Juxtapoz spoke with Noelia on the occasion of her solo show, Account of Preceding Events, at Boer's Gallery location in Los Angeles. So please subscribe to and share this podcast. We hope you enjoy this conversation between Noelia Towers and Radio Juxtapoz host, Evan Preco. Thanks for listening.
Let's do it.
We are
Perfect.
live.
Hell yeah.
Hi, Noelia Towers. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Evan?
I'm doing okay. I am happy. So you sold me on Darth Vader voice, and it's not Darth Vader voice, so
Not anymore. It was really bad. It was giving like RFK Jr. It kind of was. I was like, oh my God, I sound horrible, but it's gotten better. I just kind of sound like a little like sexier now.
I
I don't know.
almost, and not on the sexier part, but I almost just did a spit take on the RFK comment. So good start.
So
No, it's good.
I'm sorry.
It's a good way to start a podcast about art when you talk about RFK in 2025.
Right?
I
That's how you know it's
That's
gonna
how
be
you know.
good.
That's how you know that you are in the moment.
Absolutely.
Well, Noelia, we should start with. So why are we here? And the reason why we're here is because you have a show that just opened up in Los Angeles, and so maybe you could just
Yeah.
tell us a little bit of like why we are here and what we're starting off with, so the listener can get a sense of what you just made.
So I made paintings. I um I got a call from the boer in November or like early November, like late October, and they were like, "Hey, you're having a show with us in LA in February, so you better get to work." And I was like, "Yes, sir. I'm gonna really get to work."
Is that
So
normal?
yeah, sometimes it happens like that. Like
Okay.
sometimes you will have nothing really going on, or, you know, you have time for exploration and time for play. And then all of a sudden you get the call. It's like a Batman sign
Yeah. Right.
on the sky, and you're
Yeah.
like, I've been summoned. I have to get serious now. Um, so I just made these paintings, and it feels very me in a way. Like it really felt good finishing them. Like I usually don't get this feeling very often where I feel complete and
Oh, that's good.
whole.
Yeah. Okay, that's
Yeah.
nice.
So
Yeah.
this time it really felt like I felt so secure in the work. Um, and it was just great to have fun with the process of painting and then be happy with the results. It's been really awesome, especially considering how bad everything has been in my life to a personal level. It felt good to have something at least like under control a little bit, you know?
Was that like an amalgamation of the fact that you've been working in a certain way for a couple years now, that this, when you got the bat signal, you felt quite ready to go?
Yeah, I think so. Because I
Yeah.
was already on a roll. Like I just had a show in November in Paris, and it felt like I was in a groove. So this just felt like a continuation of that. But in a way, it was also very different. Um, Not that the words are like super different because they still feel very me in a way, but it just felt like, okay, let's keep it rolling. Like let's keep this going. Sometimes between shows, what I find it's really difficult is to kind of like the pause and go
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Um, but this just felt very organic in a way, and it just continued to go on.
What what would you say this particular body of work? You said it's you, but what would you say this body of work is pondering, is exploring?
Yeah, so I wanted to make these sort of like narrate parts of my life, and especially like parts of my childhood, but in a way depersonalizing them and making them, giving them a universal feeling, where it's like I'm telling you a story that's very deep and personal, but it's also so completely removed from me, and it
Mhm.
could be something that it feels like a rite of passage in a way.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to feel like, yeah, this is me, this is about me, but it could also be about so many different things. So I wanted people to feel like, okay, is she telling me a story, or is she telling me my story? Does that make sense? It's like, is
Absolutely.
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's like your work has always been about this examination or this challenge to create a role reversal with power structures,
Mm-hmm.
but not always in the prettiest of ways, sometimes in quite graphic ways, sometimes in quite
Yeah.
personal ways, sometimes in quite I would say some of the work disturbing, I guess, in a sense, because it's mysterious. But
Yeah.
I don't mean disturbing as in you can't look at it, but like the topics can be quite, you're challenging power structures, but also at the same time understanding that these power structures still are holding on for their last grasp.
Yeah, I can see that. It's always so funny to see what other people perceive from my work. Um, because I get so wrapped up in what I'm
Of course.
doing.
Yeah.
And it becomes so personal, not just because of the narrative, but because I'm doing it.
Right.
So there's an attachment to my work that it's so personal. Like it's like a baby, like I'm producing something. And it's always interesting to hear what others have to say about it. But I guess, yeah, you're right. And what I do a lot is transform, like look back and transform things that have been traumatic in my life and everything that has happened, and materialize it in a way that is so open-ended. There's no really definite answer to what you're getting in the works.
Right. Did you so I think for people who might not know this, but you are from
Yeah.
Spain originally,
Yeah, I'm from Barcelona, yeah.
and you now live in,
Catalonian through and through.
yeah, exactly. And you are now in Chicago.
Yeah, I've been here for 11 years as of March 14th.
Does the distance from where you grew up help you deal with depicting trauma?
I think so, because I feel like you have to digest the things that happen to you, and you need time. And I remember making work back then, maybe 10 years ago, and to me it felt like, oh, I'm really telling my story, but I didn't really have time to digest it, or
Yeah.
chew through the things that had just happened to me. And now I'm older, I would like to say I'm wiser, and I have more experience, and I can back at things in a different light. Um, so I feel like this is something that excites me a lot too. And it's very hard for me to look back because I cringe so easily at everything that I've done. But it's also like forcing me to take pride on how far I've come.
Right.
And yeah, I would say that the distance, not just physical, but the distance between like my life back then and my life now that I've lived here for so long, it gives you so much insight, and that shows in the work.
Yeah. Do you, not that we don't have to get specific about what the trauma is if you don't want to. We don't have to. But
Oh,
unless you want to.
I mean, I'm always pretty open. Um, I have to say, like in recent years, I've become more private with a lot of things surrounding my life. And it's not just to like be a mysterious person.
Yeah.
I feel like it's about protecting my own peace a little bit,
Yeah.
which is why I paint, right? Because you let the work speak for itself.
Yeah.
But I guess just I have a lot of childhood trauma from growing in a very unstable household with addict parents. That kind of pushed me to leave my parents' house when I was 16. And I just fell prey to an abusive relationship. I've also been like groomed several times throughout my teenage years. I carry a lot of like sexual relationship trauma, a lot of power imbalances, which I guess you said that it
Yeah.
shows in my work.
Yeah.
And the past like 10, 11 years of my life have been just trying to cope with these things that have happened to me and kind of taking control over my life because I feel like I didn't have it, or I didn't have like a normal upbringing, that I didn't have the tools to deal with all the things that I was going through. So now it's kind of like reparenting myself and like self-soothing, like just learning a lot of things that I should have known years ago, but I didn't have them because of the situations that I was going through.
Right. It's amazing because like when you're saying that, I'm just like thinking your paintings are just they're so ingrained in the memory, just the way that you depict them or the way that you paint them and the moments that you capture and that you're speaking about and that you're documenting, is that I can see this sort of through line of you talking about the power imbalance, but also you getting the power back. And like, there's these paintings where like the figure is so fierce and like ready to kick some fucking ass, like ready to like fight back, but also having memories of times when they weren't able to fight back. And it's such an interesting and
Hmm.
strong. The last couple of years, the body of work is just so strong, and it feels like you are. It's interesting. You said you're becoming more private because it seems like your work is more direct.
Explicit,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. It was so funny. I don't know if this is something you planned on talking about, but I wanted to bring it up because when you shared my paintings from father figure
Yes.
on the Juxtapoz Instagram, the comments were just bonkers.
Bonkers.
The things that people were saying, I was just like, I want to make some popcorn and read them because this is like really interesting. Because what I got from that is that as a woman, I am not allowed to make work that talks about my trauma in a way that's remotely sexualizing it.
Yeah, right.
Because people, it's so funny. People were saying, like, this is the type of stuff that you find on like Jeffrey Epstein's bathroom. Or like they were saying things relating to like pedophilia. And it's like, well, I was groomed. I was sexually abused. I was abused as a teenager. What do you expect? Am I not allowed to turn my trauma and sexualize it, or make myself as, like portray myself as the survivor that I am? Am
Right.
I, it's almost like that's so taboo. But then I witness men constantly making hyper like feminine sexualized work, and they don't get questioned like that.
Yeah.
Why am I being questioned for something that I endure? And there were so many comments, saying like, oh, somebody read Lolita by Nabokov, and it was like, well, this is what he talked about. He himself was a victim of abuse, like we are allowed as victims and survivors to make any kind of work we want, and it shouldn't have to be put under a microscope, I feel.
And do you ever have, I, this is the problem that I have with Instagram in general or any social media is that you don't really
Yeah.
get a lot of constructive conversations with
Yeah, there's no
people.
no conversation going. It's
Yeah.
just a one way of like, there was a moment that I'm like, these people have to be bots because there's no way that
Yeah.
a normal person in their own sanity would say anything like this. But whether they're bots or not, this just gets accentuated on when you have an online presence
Yeah.
of any kind. You're just gonna have to face things like this, I guess.
It's also like this very uncomfortable thing as I think as an artist and also as somebody like myself who runs an account with lots of followers is that you don't want to over explain the work to people. So
Right.
because you don't because that also, sometimes reading a synopsis about an exhibition is really helpful. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to go see the work. And
Yeah,
sometimes you want the work to speak for itself and you want the work to have its meaning for you and not have a didactic explanation for everything.
absolutely.
And the problem is sometimes on Instagram is when you put the whole didactic information about the work, people don't read that either. So it's like it's a very in that father figure body of work was it was something that could have been potentially difficult for some people to see, of course.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
also, um, it is naive to write comments that are just blatantly not well thought out upon work like that.
Yeah.
But here
And
we are.
it's again, it's so funny to see people like, oh, this is why the work is bad because it's glorifying like child abuse, you know? And it's just like, oh, you're so close to getting it. You're so close to getting it. You're almost there. But yeah, that's always something that I find kind of fascinating.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not even like not even taking it personal. I always tell people like when you go see a show, maybe don't read the press release until
yeah,
you've seen the works for yourself and you have, you know, reach conclusions in your mind first and then read about it and
yeah,
see how they differ or see where they like meet each other and you realize sometimes that, oh, I was very off about
yeah,
this, or oh, I got close, you know.
yeah,
But sometimes the work just has to speak for itself.
yeah. I also think that this isn't always the case. This is not like hyperbole where it's an absolute. But oftentimes, when the wrong people are making the wrong comments,
Yeah,
it's not, it's not, it's not going to create a discussion. It's just going to create more polarization or more misunderstanding, which is like
absolutely.
where we're at now.
Yeah.
Um, does it
Yeah,
feel, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say this can be applied to so many other areas of life in general. That's where we're at right now.
Right. In this sort of new wave of hyper masculine uh control that we are going through, this sort of desperate grasp of power that seems to be happening everywhere. Does it feel different to make artwork in these conditions as a woman who's gone through these particular traumas that are quite in you're documenting it? Have you found it difficult in the last couple of years, or does it feel
Yeah,
more urgent than ever?
to me, I've always been a person that I can only really work when I'm in a good mental state. Which like I wish it wasn't like that. Like I want to turn my pain into work so bad, but I need a distance. I need a distance between the suffering and making work. And I can only make the work when I've kind of gone through, like I've overcome an obstacle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But you're not necessarily
So, right.
you're not necessarily saying like I need to be in a good mood. You just need to
No,
be.
it
Yeah, right.
over
Yeah,
something. I need
okay.
to have like overcome a situation
Got
to
it.
be able to create freely. So it's been so difficult lately to even get myself in the studio because I just feel so deep depressed and so like exhausted emotionally, physically. Like just seeing the state of the world, it's taking it out of me. I don't have the strength to create. But I still feel like I do owe it to myself. I have an obligation with myself to show up and keep working, not for anyone else, not for show, even just to, I owe it to myself because I always get reminded of like, oh, this is why I do what I do
Hmm.
because it gets me out of a dark place. But it's just been so difficult. I don't know how people are, and like, I guess this includes myself because I just completed a show, like that it opened in last month. So it's just very difficult to put work that feels genuine right now, that is not like I just want to go full blown Fontana and just grab a knife and poke it through the canvas and show like just anger. There's so much anger. And I feel like I'm not alone in this. Like everybody I talk to, everybody's just like, I do not feel like creating right now. I don't. Everything feels kind of meaningless in a way.
Yeah.
But I try not to be so negative, but it's just so difficult. It really is.
When did you find that painting was going to be the outlet you needed?
I would say since I was like a little kid, like that was always my outlet. I was always drawing in my room, just lock the door and do something. And it was my escape, um, like a safe haven almost, you know? Um, so this is another reason why I try to like force myself to get studio time, just to honor that part of me. Like, remember when things weren't great, who was there for you? Painting. It's
Right.
always been there.
Right. When did it when did it start like really becoming kind of a career reality? Was that something by the time you came to the States, or is that something that started in Spain, or where like
Also, when I
yeah, go ahead.
right, when I moved here, my husband was very supportive. Like I never went to college for art. Never, I don't have like academic background. So he was always very supportive. He always believed in me. Um, and I guess during the pandemic, it was kind of a blessing in a way to be out of my day job and have to sit at home and be like, okay, I have so much time right now in my hands. Let's get productive, you know? And I think that's when just having time, the world stopped for most of us. I was unemployed. I was out of my job for a while, and it just felt like, well, I'm gonna make painting my job. Like I'm gonna just fully immerse myself in this. And I think having so much time allowed people, not just me, a lot of people that were so consumed by their day jobs, to be like, this is what life could be if we all were able to create and do what we truly love. People started like small businesses, doing their craft
Yeah.
and putting it out there. And I think that was so absolutely beautiful to see, like, you've had this talent the whole time and
Yeah.
you were like hiding it from the world. And people are like, well, it's not that I was hiding it, it's just I didn't have time because of all my obligations. So that was like a definitely like a turning point for me to
It, it
be
also
like, I'm just gonna paint.
it also feels like you didn't realize that you kind of there was like there was more time, but you actually realized how much more you could get done in life.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, then it's hard to go back. Like, I remember when I had to go back to my job after a few months of lockdown, I was like, how am I supposed to do this now?
Wait, what was your
I
job?
got a, I used to work at a dance studio.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, um, I was there for like 3 years. Uh, it was just like minimum wage. I think my pay was like $10 an hour, but I was
What
able
were
to
you
use the
doing? What were you
I
doing?
was a front desk person, the
Okay.
cleaning person. I would just take care of the space, like it was my own business, but I never saw any benefits from taking so much care of that space. The only benefit was like, I can use the space to dance. Um, but it was like a very low paying job that was kind of just getting me through life, and I was doing the best I could. And on the side, I was painting, but that was never like I never thought that I could potentially be a full-time painter, you know? Um, so yeah, the pandemic was kind of great in that aspect.
What does one's knowledge and love of dance do for painting? Is there
I don't
anything?
know because I guess it gives you this probably like similar amounts of like dopamine. It's probably like, you know, some chemical reaction that it's very similar to what you get when you're dancing and something comes out great. And it's also like the movement of your body. Um, it's just so freeing. And I guess like when you're painting and you get in the zone and it's just you and your work, that's like such a good rewarding feeling. So I guess you get the same amounts of hormonal or like chemical
Yeah.
reactions in your brain, you know?
Yeah.
Anything that brings you joy, it's gonna be like I just picked up ice skating 2 months ago because it's free for me to go. So like I go and ice skate and that just is so stimulating. And it also gives me more inspiration in a way. It's like, oh, I feel so good. I want to keep doing things that make me feel good. So I'm gonna keep painting, keep creating. It's like a little urge, you know?
I'm going to say this about ice skating. I cannot find pleasure in ice skating because all I can think about is falling.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that you said that you enjoy ice skating. I know some people that do. I just, for some reason, all I can think about is a broken bone.
Honestly, I'm so terrified of falling backwards and hitting my tailbone and my
Yeah.
head.
Yes, exactly.
It's like really scary. I've only fallen like a couple times and I've been lucky enough to like always tell myself like hands on your knees and I put my hands on my knees and if you fall, you kind of fall forward instead of backwards. Um, but I guess what it's doing for me, it's just showing me that I'm capable of learning a new skill.
Right.
And that's just such a great feeling with whatever you do. Like there was a weekend that I was like, I'm gonna learn how to make focaccia. And I did, like I did it and it took me 3 tries. And then the third try was so delicious. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna put all of this away because I already did it. So maybe see you in like 6 months when I want to make focaccia again,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? But it's just like the joy and pleasure, finding pleasure and doing something.
As a an Italian American, what I will say about focaccia is that the key, and then my grandmother made really good focaccia, is that
Yeah.
the key is just a tiny, tiny bit of salt on top.
Oh,
Just
when it's already
yeah,
cooked
just a
or like,
tiny, yeah, just a little
yeah.
bit of that kind of like thick kind of salt on top. Oh, just there you
Oh,
go.
yeah, the crystallized one, like when you,
Hmm.
oh my God, that's
Hmm.
so good. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a salt addict. Like I put so much salt on things.
Is that a Spanish thing?
Um, I think so.
Yeah, I
And
think
and
so
it's
too.
probably
Yeah.
like my grandpa loves vinegar and salt, and he
Hmm.
puts like vinegar on his French fries. I'm like, you're a weirdo, but
Oh,
whatever
that's not.
floats your
Oh,
boat.
that's good. Vinegar on French fries?
Yeah,
That's
he
so
likes vinegar
good.
and garlic. I
Oh
guess so.
yeah.
He loves it. Yeah, but it's just like maybe we just like salty, briny things, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think like a fish and chips with a little vinegar on the chip. Oh my God.
Oh, that's delicious. Yeah, I'd
Forget
have to
about it.
agree with you on
Forget
that.
about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, there was something about the zone I want to go back to, but first I want to ask you what you're scared of falling on your pelvic bone and or your your back
My
tailbone
tailbone, yeah.
and your head on ice skating. But what do you fear?
Um, I fear so many things, Evan. Um,
It was a loaded
I
question. I really apologize.
it's so loaded. I fear itself. Like my mind is constantly, the gears are moving constantly. I'm scared of so many things,
Okay, wait,
honestly.
let's
Like
let's narrow it
that's
down.
wild.
Let's
Yeah.
narrow it down.
Uh,
Scare
yeah.
what scares you in the studio?
When the vision I have in my mind, my hand, my brush, it acts as like a translator
Right.
because it's putting the things that I see, the things that I visualize, the things that I'm using as a reference, and it translates them into artwork, right? My biggest fear in the studio is that the things I want to say are not coming out the way I want them to, or like envision them as. Because then I'm the problem. I'm the problem standing between myself and a good work.
Right.
Does
But
that make
what,
sense?
yeah, it totally makes sense. So what is your like what do you use as references? What, like when you do some I'm just trying to think of like a specific painting. I'm not going to do that because this is a podcast and people are not going to be able to.
Right, right.
But
People don't see it.
what is a reference? How do you do your references? How do you do when you, because you have people in the paintings, they're figurative paintings. How, what, so what do you, and then obviously you have objects as well. So what's the process of?
Yeah, so sometimes I will see an image and I'm like, this is exactly what I'm trying to convey or what I'm trying to say, but how can I adapt this image and make it more me? Um, so I work a lot with found images.
Mhm.
I take my own reference photos a lot of the times, especially when it's like a composition that I want to put together and I don't find the resources or I don't find what I'm looking for. Um, I work with so many different, images that inspired me. There's from like movie stills to like vintage magazines. From sometimes I will see like I will pause the movie and be like, this is what I want to paint, but not quite. So I'm gonna add on to it. And I just feel like we have so many, um, we're constantly being bombarded with images right now. And sometimes it's hard to focus
Mhm.
and have like, this is what I want. Maybe I need to subtract instead of like adding on, you know? So it's all a game of like almost like a mental collage of images. Um, but yeah, I'm all over the place, all
Wh-
over. Sometimes like a iPhone photo, sometimes like a film, taking photos in a Polaroid, it's all over the place.
when you're in the zone, as you were talking about,
Hmm.
and you're dealing with the subjects that you're dealing with, of how much can you separate yourself from this, what you're actually painting when you're in the zone? Like, do you find yourself, can you get into a groove where you're not thinking about the image that you're actually making, you're just painting and you're painting and it's just feeling right? Or are you constantly like taking a step back and like, what is the zone for, you were talking about the zone? I'm kind of want,
Yeah,
because when you're talking about
the
making work that
zone.
is, when you're talking about making work that's so personal and
Yeah.
you are dealing with past trauma and even just the metaphors of what trauma is, and then, but then you're in the zone, like, do you have to take a step back and go like, wow, I I nailed that, or oh my god, I had no idea that was coming out.
Yeah, because like sometimes you don't know where a painting is gonna take you, and
Yeah.
you think it's so clear in your head how you want it, and then that doesn't work. So you have to like make moves constantly and be like, well, maybe if I take this route instead of this, like I thought it was so clear that I was gonna do this, but now it's like this is not working out. So the zone sometimes looks a lot like me sitting right here, painting, taking a step back and being like, this fucking sucks. And then I get on my phone and I start scrolling Instagram. And then I'm like, okay, well, I wasted 30 minutes of my time. Let's get back to painting. And maybe that those minutes that I spent like away from the painting, I'm like, oh shoot, like this is what has to be different. And sometimes the zone is just like painting a piece to completion and being so happy about it. And then you're done and you're like, no, this didn't come out quite as I needed. And sometimes it's like things just magically work out and you feel great because sometimes what I'm trying to tell myself is that all that matters is the process and how much I'm enjoying the process. And I can tell by looking at my own paintings and being like, that was a good one because I enjoyed it. I had so much fun. I was in like a place of harmony. It was just things were working out. And when I had difficulty with it, I overcame it. And that to me is priceless. Like that's the zone where ideally I want to be at all times,
Right. Yeah. Which
you
you
know?
seem like you were saying that it's amazing that you had this like 3 month period of time to make this last body of work, and
Yeah.
the zone was it was a good zone.
It was a good zone. Yeah. And I felt so great with every piece. Like I just had a good time. And I had my doubts here and there, but ultimately you have to stop yourself and be like, this needs to get out the door. I cannot just keep pondering over the same thing. It's done. It's full. It's completed. I finished it. Any changes, any add-ons, anything that I want to fix, it's not me. It's not authentic. It's not what I was going for. So it's done.
This is a question that look, this is a podcast that's freewheeling. We like I have notes. I never look at my notes. I have notes just in case something happens, but
We
we're okay.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Tell me why in the history Spain has a
Mhm.
very rich art history,
Yeah.
often dominated by men.
Yeah.
So, how first off, how do you feel about being a Spanish woman painter in this day and age? But also, maybe you could shine a light a little bit if there's any Spanish women artists that we don't hear about enough in history, because the male Spanish artists tend to be the giants of the art world.
Yeah. Um, there's like, of course, there's plenty of women out there, you know, and not just like painters, but like writers, like incredible. It's so funny how Spain has given us a lot of like incredible women writers, and painters have kind of been like overshadowed by their male counterparts. Um,
You're getting to my
I,
question. Yeah,
yeah,
you're feeling
yeah,
me here. Yeah.
yeah. I just think that this has to be, and it's something that I tell everybody, you need to look for things. You need to dig deeper. Um, I'm just not happy when I go to a museum with what I see and it's been exposed and presented and it's hanging on the walls. You have to do more research on your own. But that's something that has to come out of each individual, the urge to want to search for more. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think we have a responsibility as individuals to find them. Go find the women artist. Like, go do research.
Who
Google is free. We all have access to it, you know?
will it be free forever? Who knows?
Yeah, we don't know that.
No, I'm
Might
just
as well enjoy it while we have it.
yeah.
I mean, I know there's probably other search engines that we can use.
Who are some of your artistic heroes?
Let's see. That's another a very loaded question because I have so many. And it's so funny because like a lot of my inspirations are not from painters.
That's fine. That's what we're talking. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah. I've recently been rewatching a lot of Agnes Varda movies,
yeah, okay.
and I just want to give her like the biggest hug ever. I just think she was one of the most special individuals ever. Like, I would kill to see the world through her eyes for a little bit. I'm like, how do you notice these things? Like, again, she's just such a like alert person, and she's like actively listening, actively watching the world, which is why her films are so beautiful. And also I've been really obsessed with Cookie Mueller recently.
Yeah, okay.
My friend Liza gifted me Walking Through Clear Water in a Pool Painted Black. And I had read a lot of the stories that were in there already, but it's good to have the full book and be able to like read her whole his like story. Um, but again, it's like all my heroes, like or like my idols or whatever you want to call them, it rotates so much. Like I go through phases of like obsession um with so many different people. And it's good because then I learned so much from them and I absorb it and it informs my work
Yeah.
in a way.
Well, because your work has this, it is quite cinematic.
Yeah, I watch a lot of movies. I have ever like my entire life. But when I was a teen, I was obsessed with Almodovar movies, and I watched his whole like
Yeah.
filmography
Yeah.
up until like 2012. I haven't seen a lot of the most recent ones. I think is Parallel Mothers his. It's
I
one of the latest movies, and I still haven't seen it. Um, but that was like s- I was so passionate about it being younger, and I feel like whether you want it or not, or all the media we consume, whether it's in writing and visual images on a movie, it seeps its way through our artwork.
Is there a reason why, and is it something that is could develop that you don't show faces often?
Um, I think when you show a face, you're showing someone's identity. It's saying so much. And if you want to keep some parts vague or more mysterious or don't give out so much information about something, it's a really good resource to not show someone's face because a face is so expressive. I remember putting like part of a face in one of my paintings in Paris, and everybody was kind of like shocked that I put a face, but it's still like you're not seeing the full facial expression. So there's an air of mystery surrounding it, still like a shrouded figure in a way. You're not getting the soul out of it?
Right.
So I think you can say so much without showing a face. Um, so much more. Like I express so much more, for example, showing you hands, showing you a very zoomed in part of a body, or, I feel like you don't want to give away too much.
Do you think that there is a difference between? I know you couldn't make it to your LA opening, but
Oh God, yeah.
um, but do you think there's, as someone, you're born European, and then you live in the United States for a certain amount of time. Do you feel like there's a different way in which the different places look at your art?
Yeah, probably. I mean, we are all like so conditioned by the ways we are raised. Like I'm sure my experience as a white European woman is not the same experience as like a woman that was born in another continent, grew up in a different culture. But my hope is that there's always something that connects us and that people can see that. Like even when I go to a museum or like I go to an art show and I see someone else's work, and maybe I cannot find a way to relate to that piece of work, but I can see through like an empathetic lens. I can see what that person is coming from. And just by like recognizing that that person has a life and a whole universe built on their own, that recognition, it's something that connects me to other people. Like we're all connected in the way that everything is universal, but nothing is universal at the same time. We're all different universes
Mhm.
in our own. Um, so of course, the way that somebody looks at my work is going to be determined by their upbringing. And I don't claim to know what other people have gone through, but I would hope that somebody looks at my work and they can see where I come from and they can find a way to somehow relate to it one way or another, you know?
Yeah. Do you
Mm.
we were talking about that kind of, I think it kind of connects to this idea of the really absent-minded comments on social media,
Yeah.
but have you had meaningful conversations with people who relate to your work in person as off,
Yeah.
like what are some of the kind of things that people say to you about the work that might relate, might feel something personal about it? I mean, have you had to have some difficult discussions with viewers who?
Yeah. I mean, I've had both good and bad things said to me to my face. I feel like most of the time when somebody relates very hard to my work, it's always been a woman. Um, my work is very girly. It's like the girls that get it, and the girls that don't just simply don't. Um, but I've also received a lot of hate from women who maybe feel like the way that I'm doing it is not the right way, like you can say there's so many ways to be a feminist. And it's true. And what I would hope with my paintings is to embrace all the aspects of being a woman. Like from being a woman that loves to be submissive to being a woman that loves to, like, yeah, this is me. I'm absolutely fucking broken and my brain's broken. And then it's like, no, I paint for women who have their shit together. It's like whatever. It's like an umbrella that we're all under. But I've gotten really constructive conversations with other women that approach me and they make me feel like, no, you're not alone. I've been through very similar things and your work like speaks to me. And that honestly is like such a good feeling to be seen,
Yeah.
to be acknowledged, to be recognized, to be like, yeah, I see you, you know? And then there's people who don't get it and they're just like, this is just some girl shit. Like, I don't relate to this. Like, this is bringing nothing to the political climate that's going on right now. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Not everything has to be political or, um, not everything has to speak to the current events that are happening right now. I try to just make work about what speaks to me, and that's not always gonna speak to other people. But it's very nice to actually have a conversation in person with people about this. Um, and people that even if they don't like the work, they still don't discredit you as a human being.
Right. And not to define everything in a binary, but what do you want the male viewer to get from the work?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
It doesn't matter at all. Um, I don't paint for men.
Great answer. That's a great
Yeah.
answer. Yeah, no,
Thank you.
I absolutely fucking love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, my paintings are for the girls,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think it's a great answer. And then
Yeah.
in that, what are it feels it does feel like this show it I don't know if this is the right way of saying it, but you can and you're the right person to answer it. It felt like an end of a chapter, this particular show.
Listen, I've been going through it lately, psychologically. It does feel like I'm entering a new phase in my life, and I don't know what this entails, and I don't know what's gonna happen. There's moments where I'm like, I just want to start from scratch, and I question my work a lot, and I'm like, what do I want to say? Like, how do I want things to be moving forward? So it did to me every show though, it feels like a new chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything feels like I want to tackle so many subjects, so many issues that I want to talk about, so many different interests that plague me, and I want to do it all. So I always say like, oh, my next show is going to be so different, but then I feel like they're all so interconnected in a way, whether I want it or not. That's just organically how it happens.
Well,
Does that make sense?
we're also in this weird period of time where if an it's like an artist should be allowed for 10 plus years to do the same body of work and work through that. But we're
Yeah.
like so conditioned that everything needs to be like, everything needs to be changed all the time that
Yeah.
we forget that like when we go to a retrospective of an artist's work, whether it's painting or sculpture or dance or anything, they generally they move quite slowly through subjects because that's life doesn't move the way that the social media pace works, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
there's
feel
no
like we're
rush.
so over. No, there's no rush. We're so overly saturated with images. We're being bombarded constantly. And I feel like I even feel bad promoting my own show that's happening right now. And then I'm like, no, I worked so hard on this. I'm gonna be showing the paintings until I
Right.
want, it's like I feel like everything has to be so new to keep people engaged all the time. And I'm trying to like really stay away from that and be proud of the work and be in the moment and not like let's move on to the next thing.
Wait,
um
why do you feel bad about promoting your
I just feel like everyone's so fed up. I feel like no one gives a shit. um but that's just how it feels with social media in general,
yeah,
not just with artwork. It's just like
yeah.
we are all tired. We are all so tired.
We we have to find a new way to share things because the way it's working right now isn't working.
Yeah, yeah. And this goes back to like the individual responsibility that I was talking about earlier, about how like we gotta dig deeper and find other ways to consume media, consume images. It's just not enough to be scrolling on our phones and be presented with these images. Like, what are you looking to find?
Hmm.
Like searching to me is so much better than just finding. So,
That said, when you are, I wanted to I was gonna pull it up on my phone, but the
yeah,
painting that you have of like the scraped leg that's in the new
yeah.
show,
Hmm.
like there are times when you're scrolling on your phone and you see something and you're like, whoa, like that, whoa. And I feel like that painting for me was like it stopped me in my tracks. So
Wow,
sometimes it
that means a
works.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it works. And honestly, like that's such an honor that you're saying this right now because that's what every artist wants, right? Like we all want for our work to like stop somebody on their tracks
Yeah. Yeah.
and be like, "Whoa, like this is we have something different here." But I kind of stopped looking for I need to be very different. I'm gonna, like that mentality of like art has to be fresh. No, just do something with passion
Hmm.
because that's what I put in the work. I pour passion, and I feel like when something feels authentic and it comes from such an honest place, people like you will see it and be like, "Wow, this feels fresh. This feels good."
This actually connects to something that I wanted to mention at the beginning of the podcast, which we didn't, but
Yeah.
was that you and I ran into each other at the opening of the Krita Art Center,
Yes, it was so nice.
which there that is an artist who did so many things to
Yeah,
um, enlightened enlighten people, to make people feel safe in the bodies that they had, to give people a means to make change, the confidence to make change, and sometimes just to make beautiful images. Um,
absolutely.
and we're actually gonna have the Krita Art Center on the podcast in a few weeks. But
Oh, amazing.
what I wanted to ask you is like something like that, which is not related. It's like perhaps in the ether of the world it works with your work, but when you see somebody's art career that is like that, does it motivate you? Does it make you feel like you're doing the right thing? um does it make you feel
Honestly,
empowered?
here's the thing. I I love seeing, well, I don't know if you stay, I don't remember if you were there, but like they when they gave the speech,
Oh yeah, I
the
stayed. That was
people,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, I was crying. Like Nelly was so good. I felt
Amazing.
really touched.
Yeah.
I cried. I felt incredibly touched. Um, She said that you can count the centers dedicating to women artists with one hand. That to me was devastating to hear. Because if that's what we get, it's almost like, oh, I'm never gonna make anything of substantial, like I'm never gonna contribute that much in the world. It really makes you feel like your objectives or like your goals are so far out of reach. So we sadly don't have there's not much incentive to being a woman artist, um, or an artist in general for that matter. And it felt I found it incredibly sad. And that put me in a place that it was dark. I was like, this is so dark. I'm sad. And I want to turn that anger or that sadness into fuel to help me like keep going. But it's just so depressing to really
Yeah.
think about it.
I mean, I to be honest, I've spent, I've dedicated my life to the arts, but I had a hard time trying to count on my hand who the other,
Yeah, who the
art.
other ones are even
Yeah,
are,
yeah. I mean, I could think of George O'Keeffe.
George O'Keeffe and it's near Santa Fe, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. Um,
yeah.
and my girlfriend also was. We were both trying as we got in the car, trying to. Well, who else would have? And that's not great to have.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, I find the work extremely empowering and it speaks for itself. And it's so crazy that it's still so fresh and it aligns so much with all the things we're going through right now
Yeah,
in society. So the work feels like brand new in a way.
yeah, it does. Yeah,
But
it absolutely does.
it just gave me like perspective of like, which I think it happens a lot to me when I go see art from especially other women, that I measure the distance between me and this person that I'm seeing their work, and that I find inspiration in that different and what makes
Mm.
me different from them. Um, my husband always asks me, like when we go to a museum, like, is this inspiring you? And I'm like, yeah, but it's not inspiring because like, oh, look how beautiful this painting is. It's inspiring me because of how different I see myself from them.
Yeah, yeah,
And that makes me feel like, okay, maybe I can bring something to the conversation. Like
yeah.
maybe I'm adding on. Um, it was just like a very like bittersweet visit to the Corrida Art Center because it was like, man, this should be like a permanent, like a big museum exhibit. This should be so much more than it is. But on the other hand, it was like, I am so grateful that something like this exists.
Yeah,
And there's hope. It just filled me with sadness and hope
yeah.
simultaneously.
I really really like that answer, and I like the way that you're putting that in terms of even if you see a distance between yourself and it's like there's something motivating and like empowering about that. That's really really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. It just makes you feel like there's really a place for all of us as long as you want to say something.
So, what do you want to say in closing? To put you on
I
the
want to.
to put you on the
You've been
spot.
you've been just firing these questions at me, and I'm like so mentally weak and
Should
so like,
I, look, I'm so sorry. Like everyone should know at the end here that Noelia has not been feeling well the last week, so I
yeah,
understand.
please. Well, not the last week. I've been so okay. So I just got my blood work done yesterday, and I got my results back,
Oh, this is fucking
and it looks.
serious, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it looks everything looks horrible. I'm extremely anemic. There's so many things that are wrong that I'm like Googling like, am I dying? Like, am I okay?
Can I
Uh,
just
it, it, it
can I just say something?
yeah,
Noelia,
go ahead.
it's the end of March. You're in Chicago in the winter.
Yeah, it's March Madness.
Give
Yeah.
yourself a goddamn break.
Oh, listen, and this week is like supposed to rain all week. I'm like, what have I done to deserve this?
By the
I'm
way,
a good person.
did you just say March Madness? Did you just give a college basketball reference on a podcast?
Yeah, but
You are
it's not about basketball. It's actually about me just going insane and spiraling on the
okay.
month of March.
I was gonna say, wow,
It's
you really become American if you're like citing March Madness.
Yeah, I love ranch now. I'm like full blown American. It's like I dip things in ranch. It's like who am I? It's
What?
so weird.
Okay, so what is like the one thing that you do you actually dip things in ranch now?
Sometimes
That is
I
one
love ranch.
that is one of life's great pleasures. So
Listen, if they take that away from me, what's the
yeah.
point on being in America?
Yeah.
If there's
Well,
no ranch?
what is the point of being in America, to be honest?
Oh
Sometimes.
man.
No, okay, so
Yeah.
what I don't we can go in that. Um what is something that surprised you about living in America that you quite enjoy?
I actually do enjoy the opportunities.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like, and I know people will disagree with me if you are an American, but you guys don't realize how many, like the part of the American dream that involves like being given opportunities, it's still like something that keeps driving people to this country,
Yeah.
which I feel like it's a dream that it's like slowly dying because America's just becoming like any other country where the arts are not being funded. But I just feel like if I'm being given opportunities and I'm a person that I feel like there's so many other talents out there that deserve it more than me, and I'm still being given a platform, being given a voice, so many people can make it. Like, don't be shy. Put yourself out there. Don't be a recluse. Don't don't have so much fear. Which is an advice that I should give myself too, you know?
I think you're talking to
Um,
yourself right now.
yeah, I think I'm giving myself like a
You
pep
are.
talk
You're giving yourself
right
a
now.
pep talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. No, it's good.
Yeah.
What's
I
one
feel like I need it.
what's um well, you need a pep talk because you just got your blood work done. It's why.
Yeah, literally, like I need to be told that, oh no, I'm gonna be okay. My
Everything's
anemia cannot hurt me.
What is one thing that you miss about Spain?
The food, my friends, my family. I can give you like thousands of reasons. Um, but I believe that I'm here right now because I have to be. And maybe I'm kind of like if there's something I learned about COVID is or like during the pandemic is that you will make plans and life will absolutely humble you.
Yeah.
Like life doesn't care about your
Life.
plans.
No.
Nothing matters except your health and your well-being. So I kind of stopped making plans for things and just let things happen organically and naturally. Um, this way I saved myself from being disappointed in the future, but also like it makes room for surprises and excitement and the unexpected can happen, which might be better than what you thought would happen.
And within that, do you have any plans for an upcoming show, or are you on a exploring the studio and
Yeah, I'm
exploring the
kind of in
self
my
kind of mode?
yeah, that's what I want to be. I have like a few things. I have like a group show coming up and you know there's always like studio visits happening and things taking place and I'm leaving myself very open at this moment.
Hmm.
And I do want to explore everything that crosses my mind. I want to actually make it
Hmm.
without doubting myself, without questioning it, and also without a purpose. I just want to make it.
I love
I
it.
feel like, yeah, I don't allow myself to play very often. So I wanna play. I wanna find this like childlike um sweet spot where you're just like maybe experimenting with new materials or switching a few things up in the studio, you know?
Yeah. Well, Noelia, I really want to thank you for being on the podcast, and I want to just like thank you too for like letting me ask some what I was worried were naive questions. And I'm really thank
No,
you
there's
for.
no such thing as a naive question.
There's
I
there
feel
are
like
dumb
we should
there are dumb questions though.
Yeah, but I feel like if it's, it's worth asking. And that's what I'm trying to do more too. It's just ask a bunch of questions.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
used to, I used to think I knew it all. I used to think that I had my life figured out. And now I'm more doubtful, but in a good way, because that's bringing me answers.
Yeah,
It's so important to ask questions.
yeah.
Really is.
Well, thank you for your time today, and
No, thank you, Evan.
we'll speak soon.
Yes, thank you for everything.
Hold on. Okay,
Keep
so
doing what you do.
yeah, thank you.